Welcome back everyone to the Professor Failure channel. I'm your host Professor Failure, and today we're going to be looking at the Andrea Doria, and today's special guest speaker is Aedan from Xtreme Dubstep.
Thank you for having me again, Professor Failure.
Well, thanks for coming, Aedan. So for the past 2 years, we've gone over the Titanic, the Costa Concordia, the Sea-Wise Giant, and the Symphony of the Seas. So today we're doing another famous shipwreck. We're doing the Andrea Doria. So this is the story about a ship that collided with another ship and sank.
Well, I am really intrigued, so let's begin, Professor.
So in the 1940s, Italy was in dire shape. They had just come out of war and lost most of their big, nice boats. So one of Italy's shipping companies were going to build a couple of really nice boats so that they could generate some money because World War II had hurt them so much financially.
These boats were going to be the best and the nicest in the class, as they were meant to be. They would be good in all aspects, from the interior design to the outside as well. And one of these ships was indeed the Andrea Doria.
So construction for the ship started in 1950 and ended in 1953. So she set out for her maiden voyage on January 14th of 1953. So the Andrea Doria had a sister ship named the Christopher Colombo, and the Andrea Doria isn't really known for anything special except for being special to Italy, and, well, other things as well. So the ship could carry 1,004 people, but in the time of her sinking, she was carrying 1,706 people.
Ouch, so 702 people would have had to sit in the water or be extremely uncomfortable while sitting on the lifeboats.
Yep. The Andrea Doria also had 11 watertight compartments, and even if 2 were filled, she would be fine and be in no danger of sinking.
Andrea Doria had 3 swimming pools that are still usable to this day. The Andrea Doria was the first ever to have 3 swimming pools, but that would shortly end as her life was not very long.
So her maiden voyage was successful, and she had completed quite a few transatlantic trips, but she would sail on her last journey on July of 1956. And this leads us to the sinking of the Andrea Doria, which we will get to after this short break.
Hello everyone. Have you always wanted furniture that you could actually classify as special? Well, now you can with the brand new replicas of the Andrea Doria furniture. This furniture is created to look exactly like the furniture from the ship. It's totally not stolen from the boat. Totally not. If you would like to buy some Andrea Doria furniture, call 1-800-1-800-1800, and if you call in the next few seconds, you can get a free Andrea Doria chair, and I'm sure you would love that. So call right now. When the ship set sail, the ship had 1,706 people on board, but in America there was another ship called the SS Stockholm, and this would be the ferry ship that would determine Andrea Doria's fate.
One of the interesting parts about the MS Stockholm is that she had an iceberg bow, so if she ran into any icebergs, she would have been fine. You know what? That would have been real helpful to the Titanic, but this would come help the Stockholm later when she would run into the Andrea Doria.
The ship was 525 feet long, so it wasn't nearly as big as the Andrea Doria. Now, as I just said, it wasn't as big or huge as the Andrea Doria, but it was indeed a nice ship. It had a great interior for one of the smallest ocean ships. It was a very nice ship and is still around to this day, but we'll talk about that later.
So the Andrea Doria was on her 9th day voyage and was almost to the shore, but the MS Stockholm was heading in the Andrea Doria's direction. As they got closer and closer to New York, the fog started to become more and more heavy. The captain made a ship slow down so that if any ships were nearby, it wouldn't crash with too much speed.
The Stockholm and the Doria both knew about each other because of their radars, but what they didn't know was the fact that they were both heading in the exact same direction.
At 11 o'clock, the Andrea Doria started steering left, and the Stockholm started steering right. Now, this was a recipe for disaster since they were both on the same course, and now they were both about to collide.
At this point, the Andrea Doria could see the MS Stockholm, but the Stockholm could not, and really had no idea where the Andrea Doria was, so they could only tell from a radar. At this point, the Stockholm turned even more to the right, and they were closer to the Andrea Doria than they thought because their radar was not working right.
At this point, the two ships could both see each other now, and it was pretty obvious that they knew they were going to hit each other, but this did not stop them from trying everything they could to keep the ships from colliding.
The Stockholm's engines were going in full reverse, and the Andrea Doria was trying to go faster, but it was too late. The Stockholm collided with the Andrea Doria and gave the Doria a huge gash on the side of the ship.
So the damage was more detrimental to the Andrea Doria than it was for the Stockholm, but the hull of the Stockholm was pretty much damaged and killed 5 people in the process. But since it was an iceberg bow, they were pretty okay and were in no danger of sinking.
The Andrea Doria was already starting to sink, and the ship almost immediately started filling up with water. At this point, it was indeed hopeless, and they all knew that the Andrea Doria would sink, so the captain ordered an abandoned ship, and the radio distress calls were sent out.
People went out on the lifeboats and were lowered into the water and went over to the Stockholm. On the Andrea Doria, some lifeboats weren't even being sent out because of how bad the listing was.
One of the main reasons a lot of the Andrea Doria passengers didn't die was because the Stockholm was not far from the sinking Andrea Doria. So even if they couldn't get on any lifeboats, they would be pretty much fine and could go over to the Stockholm since the Stockholm was in no danger of sinking.
Since distress signals were sent out to each other, other ships around the area could come over and help the two ships. One being the United States Navy and the other one being the Ile-de-France. They were both being very helpful to the Andrea Doria, and honestly, probably could have gone a lot worse if they weren't there.
As the day came, almost everyone was off of the Andrea Doria, and they could see just how bad the listing of the ship was. It kept listing more and more as water was finding its way into the ship.
Amazingly, some of this was actually captured on camera, and at 10:09 July 26, 1956, the ship had sunk, and it took a total of 11 hours to sink.
Now, who is to blame is an interesting story. Lots of people would agree with me on this, but it was actually the Andrea Doria, since they were supposed to turn right instead of left. These were the actual real rules, and the Stockholm followed these rules, and the Andrea Doria didn't, and this was why the Andrea Doria had sunk and crashed in the first place.
Now we get into probably what is my favorite part. You're probably wondering what happened to the SS Stockholm. Well, it is actually still up and running to this day. Is that not crazy? Obviously, it's gone through some major changes, and in 1993, she was going to become a full-blown cruise ship, and is still here to this day. You can't really tell that this is the same ship as this, but is that not crazy that you can ride one of the most famous ships ever?
I think we can all agree that this is for sure one of the most dangerous shipwrecks to ever happen, and 18 people have even died from going into the wreck.
Some recent news about the ship is that they actually recently saved the horn of the Andrea Doria. It was refitted to work, and it was blown for the first time in over 60 years. Well, everyone, thanks for watching today's video. I'm so glad we got to do this specific video, and thank you, Aedan, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Professor Failure. I really enjoyed the video. You can check out my channel, Xtreme Dubstep. I make music with apps on my phone, and I try and post as much as I can. I've kind of been slacking recently, and I don't know how much more I'm going to be doing YouTube, but I promise and hope to try and get out some more music very soon. So if you could show support for Professor and I's channels, it would mean a whole lot to us. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you everyone for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, please comment down below. We post monthly, and I can't wait to see you next time in the next video we do. Bye guys!